Alrighty, CNT120, we are working on our Chapter 4 lab. So on D2L, I'm in the Chapter 4 area, I'm in the Do folder, and I've downloaded a copy of the Chapter 4 lab, and I even downloaded a copy of the packet tracer file for the lab. So I'm going to minimize that. I've already opened the Chapter 4 lab right here as my PDF, and I have my Chapter 4 packet tracer file open and ready to go. Now, just like our usual setup, we have two sites, Harrisburg site to Philly site, PC and laptop here, PC and laptop here, with our sniffer and our servers at the Philadelphia site. So similar network we've used multiple times already. So in this lab, we're going to spend a little time looking at some of the protocols we read about in this chapter. And I kind of organized them in kind of a layer 1 and up kind of route, if you will. Ethernet, ARP, UDP, TCP, and then some IP4 along with some troubleshooting commands towards the end. So let's dig in here in the first part. We're going to look at some of our Ethernet traffic. So over here in our Philadelphia side, I'm going to open up our packet sniffer, and I want to adjust this so it's going to capture what we want to capture. It'll filter the other stuff out. So after I've opened that up, I'll go to the GUI tab here, and right now there's no filter set for capturing any traffic. So I'm going to go Edit Filters, and I'm going to make sure, as I show here, I want to see IP4 and ICMP. So we'll do the IP4 tab, and we're going to look at ICMP. And if I look at the other tabs here, nothing else is selected. So as I have any traffic move along, it's going to filter everything out, and the only stuff it's going to keep is anything, excuse me, ICMP related. Now I'm going to minimize that just to keep my screen from being so clogged up. You can leave yours open if you want. On the Philadelphia laptop, we're going to ping the web server that's here. So on our Philadelphia laptop over here, I'm going to open this up. I'll go to the desktop. I'll open up our command prompt. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to make sure I do have an IP address that I can use, and I do. So I should be able to ping the web server over there without any issues. So I'll do 192.168.30.4, I believe, is our web server over here. So we're going to ping that. And that's going to generate some traffic through the network. And if I remember, I'm going to close my ping window there for a second. With this laptop pinging the web server right here, anything moving through this branch of the network through this hub is going to repeat it to our packet sniffer. So our packet sniffer is going to get a copy of everything, which is what we want. So we're now going to open up the packet sniffer, and let's take a look what's there. We should be seeing the ICMP packets that were sent, and there they are right there. So I'm going to highlight one of those ICMP packets, and what it's going to show me over here in the right window is going to show me the contents of that ICMP packet. Now, this would be just like running Wireshark. If you remember in the different podcasts I've showed you, this would be very much like running Wireshark. Cisco Packet Tracer has this built in as our sniffer. So this is going to allow us to capture a packet off the network and take a look at it. So as I look here, remember this is coming off the network. So as it comes off the network, it reads the first header, prints out the results, and kind of tears it off, and then reads the next header, prints the results, tears it off, reads the next header, prints the results, tears it off, etc. So it actually reads the Ethernet header first, and then the IP header, and then the ICMP header. So it almost seems like it's in reverse order, but it's in the receiving. As I receive it, I receive that Ethernet header, I read the results, I tear it off, and then go to the next one. So what we want to do is we actually do want to look at the Ethernet header. And we want to see, does it have the fields that we read about? Is there the preamble? Yes. Starter frame delimiter? Yes. Now, normally, if I were capturing this on Wireshark in our lab room, you would not actually see those. Packet Tracer puts them here for you so you can see them. If you remember, the preamble is the part that it's synchronizing the clock of the receiving computer. So this is just a series of 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and at the very end, you get 1, 1, and that's the starter frame delimiter right there. You get that 1, 1, and that's like, hey, everything after that is the actual data I need. The next header field I see is the destination address. In this case, it's the destination Ethernet address, which is the destination MAC address. And then I follow that with the source MAC address, who sent it, the MAC address of who sent this. So, being that this is the very first packet that has moved through here, this should be the address of the laptop, and this should be the address of the web server. That should be the case. And if I go out here, let me see if I can hold my pointer over. We want to see NEDA. Is that the MAC address of the laptop here? So I'm going to hold the pointer over the laptop, and we're going to look over there on the far right under MAC address, that first line. NEDA is actually the MAC address of the laptop. So yeah, it makes sense. That's the ping request that went. This is the computer that sent it. So this would be the source address. Followed by that is the type field. The type field indicates that IP packet is inside. That's the protocol inside. And then this is the data. This is actually the IP packet as well as the ICMP data that is right there. And then this is the trailer, the frame check sequence. There's the trailer. So here's all the header fields you read about, and they're showing up in this capture we just did, this ping capture that we just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my documentation for this lab, and I want to capture these results, if you will. So I'm going to open up a notepad file or text editor file, and I'm going to put a note up here that this is, CNT120 Chapter 4 lab, and I'm going to put in here, this is my Ethernet header. These are my Ethernet header fields in part 1, if you will. Maybe I even do this to keep myself organized. Say part 1 Ethernet header, just to keep, just to help. I'm going to save this file. I'll save as. Excuse me. I'll go to the. I'll leave it in Documents. I'll go to Documents. Actually, I'll go right out here to the desktop. That way, I can find it later. And I'll call this 120 Chapter 4 Lab, something of that nature. And make sure you have the .txt file extension there. So I'll save that. I think I called it there the CNT120 Chapter 4 Lab. There you go. Now, what I want to capture is the source address in this header, and then the destination address in this header. So right here, if I go source address, I should be able to right-click copy that. I should be able to do that and put that in here. And then I should be able to do is grab the source address here. And we're just going to copy that whole header field. And that way we know that we looked at those header fields. So these were the destination source MAC address from that Ethernet header of that. In this case, it was a piece of ICMP, but I was looking at the Ethernet header specifically of this ICMP or this ping packet. And there's the first part of our lab, looking at these Ethernet header fields. And just, again, take a look at these. These are the ones you read about when we read about the Ethernet header portion of the chapter. Preamble, starter frame delimiter, destination address, source address, type, the data section, and then the frame check sequence. All right, when we come back in the next podcast, we'll move on to ARP and our ARP header.